Everybody, welcome to another episode of the Pull Up Trade Podcast. I'm your host, Samson Folk. In the middle of these NBA playoffs, I am joined by Trevon Heath. He is the Trey who pulls up. Trevon, how you doing, my friend? How you feeling on this fine Wednesday evening?
I'm doing wonderful. Like, there's something about like the weather just notching up
Dude,
like a little bit. I feel like the biggest gap in weather is between 15 and 20 degrees.
dude,
When
it's
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 15,
huge.
it's massive. When it's 20 degrees, I'm like, man, the world is mine. I'm gonna go out, go for a run. I'm gonna be an active person. I'm gonna change my life every single day. But if it's like 15, I'm like, ugh, crummy day still. Doesn't matter.
I spent like 4 hours outside today. I was just
Nice.
out in it, dude.
Ooh.
As I was just trying to get the sun in, trying to catch up on these like London-esque fog days that we've been dealing with. It's been windy. It's been terrible, dude. So to
Damn.
finally have it swing correctly, and the cherry blossoms are in bloom. I mean, it's beautiful. The world
You
is
should,
beautiful when the sun is out.
You just feel fantastic about your life when it's just like a little bit warmer. It's not even like I would even consider really warm yet. So maybe it's like a Jamaican tax, but like it's not super warm yet, and I feel great.
I feel the same way that you do. It's probably because of the time I spent in Mexico. And you know what? Saskatchewan
Yeah.
actually has pretty hot summers.
Oh,
Uh, hot. I want it hot, really
yes.
boiling. I also like we have friends who, for whatever reason, they're like the winter's better. The winter, dude, shut up. Come on.
Yeah.
If
That's
if there's any, go ahead.
no, I was just saying that's what we found out in summer league. Like Vegas is like boiling hot, and it separated the people that really like it hot and don't. Like even in the pool, people were complaining about how hot it was, and me and you were just basking
Dude,
in it.
we were basking in it, man. It was so nice.
Yeah.
Listeners, if you're a summer person, let us know in the comments because I want to see how many more of us there are. And if you're a winter person, say why along with
Yeah.
it. Like, I'm so curious because that's not my stance. My stance is completely on the other side.
Mm.
Also, for listeners, this will be more of a general NBA episode. Not only is there not too much Raptor stuff to talk about, we will, of course, but Trey and I also want to know if you guys want to hear us talk about just NBA stuff in general. It allows the podcast to have a little bit more legs. It means we have wider appeal. We're going to dip our toes. There's, of course, a lot of draft stuff coming, including a draft lottery live podcast that both myself and Trey will be on. S and a bunch of the RR crew will be on. Josh Codanera, I believe, will
Oh, the
possibly be
legend.
on. The legend. So no Saturday mailbag because we'll be doing the stream for the lottery draft. So all that stuff said, like, comment, subscribe. We did it. We made it
Oh,
early.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have to shout out S for this idea. And it's also an article that I think Lewis has written like 3 times or twice because the Raptors weren't in the playoffs. They had been for some time. But what can the Raptors learn from the 2025 NBA playoffs is a piece that S wrote. I've not read it. However, I suggest that listeners go and read it. And I'm saying that in case I tread over something that S has mentioned. But I do want to kick that around as a topic, Trey. I'll swing it to you first. The Raptors, we know what they're trying to do with this team for the
Mhm.
large part. We've agreed with some, we've disagreed with some. But when you watch these playoffs, of which you've watched a bunch, uh, what do you feel like the Raptors can take away from it?
I think the most glaring thing that's probably changed within like this decade and probably especially the 2010s is depth has never been more important, and having the best player on the floor has never mattered less, which I think is a good thing for the Raptors. It doesn't, with that thought process, it doesn't hedge on Scotty becoming a top 5 player. You can win playoff games with your best player not playing well because just like the secondary skills other guys are developing and creating,
It's called the
the
Tatum
talent level.
corollary.
Oh, bad day for that. Is it's just you now are in the talent level in the NBA has just increased dramatically of what a role player can do now towards like if you were a stationary catch and shoot 3-point player in 2015, you're going to play 30 minutes as long as you can defend your position. I don't even think that's enough now if you shoot a 36% clip and can be an average defender. That's not going to get you tons of minutes. You'll probably still get picked on defensively. So I think for the Raptors, that bodes really well because they've invested a lot of talent in young guys that can hopefully build up together with Scotty, and then also doesn't put the pressure on him to necessarily be an MVP candidate to win a title. The team that won a championship has a player that wasn't in the top 2 or 3 voting in MVP. They just had a really great team.
That's such a good point, is that it can benefit the Raptors, because the Raptors, I mean, how often do they get the top how often do they have MVP candidates even? Which I think you need
Yeah.
a candidate
Yes, you do.
to do that. But how often are they at like the top end of MVP voting? It just doesn't happen. And even to that point, it's like if you look at the teams at the top, yes, there's Boston, but as far as like Cavs, Pacers, the Knicks are there too, but one of them in Boston isn't coming out of it. Cavs, Pacers, Thunder, Minnesota, Denver. It's just like these are not the glamour markets. These
Yeah.
are markets that hit on a guy, kept around, and like in Denver's, I guess, case, they didn't do a great job building around Jokic. Like he's yet to play with an all-star teammate, by the way.
Yeah.
At any accolade teammate. It just hasn't happened, which I
Insane.
mean is absurd. But I think that the Wolves did a really good job of building around Ant. I think that the Thunder obviously are a very shrewd front office who have done great things. The Cavs made a lot of great decisions in building their team. The Pacers obviously went against type in how they're approaching things too. And these are a lot of markets that weren't so involved in like the top end of the NBA for some time. And it wasn't just like if you get the big signing, automatically you're there. It's like not depth. It was like it changed when depth through like 1 through 8 was really important. But now it feels like it's closer to like 1 through 10
Yeah.
because, and this will take us into, unless you have any final thoughts, feel free to interject before I go here. But that takes us into, I think, another thing that's so important in these finals or these playoffs is that offensive rebounding and ball pressure. Two things that the Raptors were really at the forefront of,
Mhm.
as with Nick Nurse, the offensive rebounding and the ball pressure now with Darko Rakovic. It's the amount of energy you have to expel on an NBA court, in addition to what you said about like just pick a guy like Derek White. The amount
Yeah.
of things he can do is pretty insane, and he's
Mhm.
very far down the totem pole. I've been using the totem pole reference a lot over the past couple weeks. I don't know what's going on with me, but he's very far down. Guys like Ty Jerome and Peyton Pritchard, these guys more than likely would have been like lead guards in a bygone era of the league. It's just like you get shuffled down because like you don't have this or that. It's just you have to expel so much energy. I'm curious where you sit on the like ball pressure thing, considering that both you and I were like, I don't know if the Raptors can do it.
Yeah.
Where do you sit on that?
It's obviously like super important. I think all of that correlates to possessions. Like ball pressure leads to more turnovers that help create more possessions.
Yeah.
It's a really good way to kind of scheme your way into having more possessions than the other team, even if you necessarily don't have the best skill players, best offensive players. Like Houston is a perfect example. They won 50 plus games because they were able to win the possession battle because they
Hmm.
rebound the hell out of the ball and they force tons of turnovers with ball pressure. Even without like a great rim protector, ball pressure allows you to create deterrence. So that was one of the things the Raptors were really ahead of rim deterrence, allowing them to still have solid defensive like units without before they had Jakob. So I think a lot of that makes sense. And you've seen teams like Memphis, the Raptors before, Minnesota utilize rebounding to overcome some sort of skill hurdles, and then also just aid in the ability to win the paint battle because like putbacks are the easiest shot possible to make.
They also create, I think, really great 3-point opportunities.
They
And
do.
there's also, it's just the meta of the NBA has started to become so gamified in portions of the court that never used to be.
Mhm.
Obviously, like with ball pressure, it just ball pressure, you can help inform and change the pace at which the other team plays. You can slow them down or speed them up. It depends on what type of like support you're giving to your backcourt defender. If you want the other team to play slower, bring more support. If you want them to play faster, make them beat a guy and go around a screen and like headlong into the paint or into a motioning defense. It's like see if you can get them to speed up and make mistakes if you're a team that's good at recovering. But offensive rebounding, for example, is like we talked about this at the start of the year, like tagging up that the Raptors do is like en masse teams have identified where shots are most likely to go, and they just
Mhm.
ask players to naturally, as part of their offensive repertoire, just like roam to these areas, and it makes them more dangerous and it makes them
Yep.
extremely important.
Mhm.
It's not just guys like Josh Hart, for example, who obviously is a monster on the offensive glass, but it's a guy like Donovan Mitchell as well too. It's like where he floats after he takes that shot is important because he's aggressive. He can spring up and go get the ball. It's the gamification, and
Yep.
it's especially like, yeah, that plus the ability to try and generate turnovers constantly in so many different places. It just puts the team in such a strong position because in a bygone, like in an era where it was the best players were the only ones who could create incredible looks for other players, and they were the
Mhm.
ones who shot a better percentage from the floor. It just didn't really happen for other players. It's like, how do we get that back and close that gap? How do you contend with Kevin Durant, for example, shooting 60% from the floor? You take 7 more shots and a half.
Yeah.
There you go. Like, you've made it up. Suddenly, Fred VanVleet shooting 42%, which would be on the very high end for him. Suddenly, that's not that bad anymore. It's just like that adjustment to me is very interesting because it seems like teams haven't given up any finesse for it. They
Yeah.
simply just added physicality.
Yeah. And I think now, especially in the playoffs, the last few years, like rebounding and especially like physicality out of like the perimeter spots is like almost like a prerequisite now. Like
Yes.
you see like the Warriors in 2022, not the greatest offense. They have obviously had
Mhm.
Steph Curry, but like the ancillary things weren't the greatest. But they were able to generate so many offensive rebounds because they had guys like Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney that rebound the hell out of the ball and create more possessions. You even see like Boston, who won last year.
Gary
They
Payton also was,
Yep, that's
from the
true.
backcourt as well.
There's guys who can really rebound. Boston, they shoot a ton of threes that create a lot of opportunities for rebounds. Guys like Drew Holiday, Derek White are okay with physicality and can rebound the ball fairly well. Jason Tatum rebounds really well for his size. So it's physicality is a humongous in order because you need those extra possessions to win games. And like I guess in correlation to the Raptors, you have guys that kind of like a nose for the ball. Like Grady, despite like his physicality, has a great nose for the ball. Jacoby to some degree is like really scrappy and is okay with that physicality. Scotty obviously rebounds great first position. They have Jakob. So you can tell, like, even like with their defensive scheme, like they're putting guys in positions that like bode well to what a playoff situation would like. Maybe that's not necessarily the greatest for wins, but like
Mhm.
they're telling Jamal Shed pick up Steph Curry and guard him as best as you can. They did the same with Jacoby. So I like the direction that it's clear that Darko understands like where the game is going towards and how teams are winning playoff games, which is good to see.
Yeah, this is also, and this will apply to Scotty, who is not at Tatum's level, obviously, but
Mhm.
to the point about like Jalen Brown, like they haven't hit the fourth quarter. Jalen Brown has 4 offensive rebounds. Drew Holiday has 1. Derek White has 2. Pritchard has 1 off the bench. Like these guys are getting after it, and that ability to rebound. It's not just the offensive rebounding, but like cleaning up the glass is like
Yep.
Porzingis came off the bench. He's played 10 minutes. Jason Tatum has 12 defensive rebounds. I know he's shooting 4 of 14. I know I like to poke fun because Jason Tatum to me is a very incomplete offensive player, but he's very complete as a player
Mm.
overall. And
Yeah.
the fact that the Celtics just can toggle down and still like really help out their own glass constantly because Tatum is just so willing to garbage man around. I think that Scotty Barnes will be that type of player for a long time. Like he'll allow certain types of front court pairings to work because he's
Yep.
so strong on the glass. And the rebounding overall, it really does remain to be seen. Like Grady,
Mm.
there's potential that he could be a very wormy, funny, like has a knack for offensive rebounding,
Yeah.
but he's got to put the weight on.
Mhm.
Jacoby, as much as he's hung in on defense, to be a guy who kind of like makes a killing on the offensive glass, got to put the weight on. Whether
Yep.
whether it's like a guy like Donovan Mitchell or whether it's a guy like Josh Hart, you got to be a little bit of a fire hydrant to make
Mhm.
your way in there. And the Raptors, they have one guy, RJ, but he's not really that way. Although he
Yeah.
potentially he could be. I don't know. The offensive rebounding, I think obviously Pirtle and Scotty
Yeah.
will enforce some of that, but as far as like how they play overall, I don't think it's a huge facet of what they do or their play style. I think there's some fun things they do, but the ball pressure, I do want to
Yeah.
give us like you mentioned Jamal Shed getting after it, Jacoby getting after it. This continues to be like a massive part of what defensive teams are using to
Mhm.
change how offenses try and make things work. It's like it's less, it seems almost like it's a little bit less about pick and roll coverage now, and it's more like we want to take 4 seconds off the shot clock, or we want to speed them up and get the ball coming out of the corner at the start to just disrupt everything offensively. The Raptors got much better at it as the season wore on. Do you feel like they have the goods in the future to take this into like a playoff series and do it at the level that some of the better teams are doing it?
It's tough because a lot of that's projecting like some of these younger
Yeah.
players, like putting on size and like getting better. I think in terms of like effort, like the Raptors, they clearly put in the work to pressure the ball and get after it in that sort of standpoint. But they're still in need of that like that bigger wing that can guard some of those bigger guys and then also help on the glass. Like they get absolutely demolished on the glass when they play bigger teams that have like a Aaron Gordon, OG Anunoby. Like they just don't have the size to guard that. Maybe Brandon Ingram is that and can be a bit more gritty, but like he's super thin.
I
So
don't that like that would surprise me a lot,
yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
Scotty is the answer to both of the questions, which is great, but also is bad because
Yeah.
if he's the answer to both, it's one at a time usually. Like if you're like Pascal, for example, wasn't playing full court press on Donovan really, but he was playing full court press. He would follow Max Struess. He would badger him 94 feet, even just in last game.
Mm.
Pascal is the one guy that like Miles Turner isn't going to do that, and Aaron Nesmith is a lot smaller. Guess
Yeah.
what? The Pacers got killed on the offensive glass. It's like, and Scotty, I have no doubt he could go and bother a Max Struess. I have no doubt he could go and apply pressure from 94 feet. But then, like when
Yep.
they get killed on the glass, it is a lot of times because Scotty is away from it and not available to help. It's Jacoby and Jamal, I think, represent like
Mhm.
they, but again, are these guys going to be starting in a playoff series? You don't really know. Like that's when you look at their starters because as we've said before, this Raptors team is built to pivot, like
Mhm.
almost just by design. But
Yeah.
when I mean, who would it be? Scotty, Emmanuel can do it. And I think
Yeah.
Emmanuel will be sent out to do it more often. But RJ, I wouldn't expect it to be super effective. I wouldn't expect, like, I wouldn't put him in that position and expect great things.
Mhm.
Jakob is obviously going to be, and Brandon, I think Brandon is in a better spot as like a backline hawk if he can be that. But I, I'd be surprised, even though they had better ball pressure. I think I'd be surprised at quite a few players on this roster currently doing it at like the playoff level. If that, like, is that how you feel?
Yeah, it's a lot of projection right now just because these guys are so young, and
But we're
like
supposed to be there next year, you know?
I think we are. I
Okay.
I'd be disappointed if they don't make the playoffs, to be
I
honest.
would too.
But
Dude, I'd be mad.
yeah, I think so too. I think it's okay to be mad if they don't make the
Yeah.
playoffs. Yeah, they're in a tough position because like adding on more frame like doesn't work for everybody. Like it's a struggle.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily happen. So it it was tough. It would be tough. I think they're in, like you said, they're in a position to probably once they realize how good they are, adjust the roster and pivot to fit some of those gaps and holes to like hopefully be able to rebound with size and then also have someone that can pressure the ball alongside IQ.
Oh, I also Ochai. Ochai can
Yeah.
it as is well known to regular listeners, I'm lower on Ochai's defense overall, but certainly if you're looking at this roster, he is a guy who will pick up full court and can do so and would be one of the better players on the roster at doing that. So we have offensive rebounding, we have high pickup points, ball pressure, we have the depth of the game, and these things all tie into one another for like conditioning, which Scotty has talked about. And Scotty's conditioning seems quite good to me. If it improves, I mean,
Yeah.
hell yeah, he's like the Energizer Bunny. IQ talked about it. Grady talks about it nonstop because Grady's skill development is like fine. It's just like getting that body right.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you're noticing as big indicators from like what's working in these playoffs? Obviously, you got to make shots, but yeah,
Yeah, that's a big like we say this every year, but like second side creation is like massive in the playoffs
yep.
just because it's really hard to find space. And when you do create rotations, you need guys that could be able to attack it. Like NBA defenses have become really good at stopping corner threes and they close out very hard. So the standstill catch and shoot player isn't necessarily as effective as it was maybe 5 years ago, but guys who can attack closeouts and get to the rim to either play make, finish at the line, or even stop and hit shots have higher importance in the playoffs. That's you see a guy like Andrew Nemhard's a huge example. He isn't the greatest shooter, but because he can attack closeouts, get to the rim, and he can create in the middle of the floor when he does get the ball, his importance in the playoffs is much higher. Max Strus is another example. He's really great at attacking closeouts and can score in multiple ways. So he ends up becoming a weapon in the playoffs,
Hmm.
where is in a regular season game that probably is an open three that Donovan Mitchell is kicking out to. That just isn't there in the playoffs. I think the Raptors are well positioned in that standpoint. Like Grady, especially in the playoffs, I think his creation, if the defense holds up, should be amplified in the playoffs because you need guys. You don't need shooters. You need scorers in the playoffs, and you
Just
need
like
guys.
offensive players.
Yeah, you need guys who can put the ball on the floor and make decisions. Like OG Anunoby, significantly better offensive player in terms of importance in the regular season because of stuff like that in the
I
playoffs.
I I definitely agree with you that Grady, his skill set is well set up. If he can that physicality, if he can
Yeah.
adjust, if that hand to hand combat and like that weight stays on, then I think he's really well prepared for it. What you brought up, and obviously I know some of this stuff a little bit more intimately because of the coverage I'm doing with Caitlin for the Pacers series, but like Andrew Nemhard in game two ran over twice as many ball screens as Tyrese Halliburton did because Tyrese Halliburton was face guarded and picked up full court every single time by Isaac Okoro, who is a very physical, great defender. And
Mhm.
Nemhard had to run, like in game one, they ran basically the same amount of screens, on ball screens. In game two, that changed drastically, and the Pacers scored really well out of Nemhard's screens. Nemhard is making 18 a year, man. He's not
Yeah.
he's not labeled as like the next great thing. And while yes, after game one, he was technically, and this is crazy, but he was technically the career NBA leader in 3-point percentage in the playoffs because he's such a great playoff riser. He was at 51%. I don't know
Jeez.
what their cutoff is for like when you qualify. He must have just cleared it because well, I guess it's a long playoff run last year and
That's
probably a
fair.
long
Yeah.
one this year. But anyway, he's definitely a playoff riser. But as you said, like Max Strus, he obviously I think he scored 24 in the game last night against the Pacers, and in game one too. It's like taking a second side pick and roll, dribbling with his weak hand, and making like a push lob to Evan Mobley for a dunk. It's like wow that this guy can do
Yeah.
that. This is their fourth guard. They
Yep.
have Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Ty Jerome, Max Strus. Their fourth guard does this. And like
Mhm.
Isaac Okoro, what they draft him fifth overall, and he can't do a lick of it. It's just development and being able to like actually do some shit with the basketball.
Yep.
So important. Also, an underrated facet of both, if we're going to stick with Strus and Nemhard as the avatars for this conversation, both very comfortable with physicality.
Yep.
Both pretty hard
Yep.
nosed players. Where do we think the Raptors? I know there's one guy who we've seen be physical. Well, it's two guys actually be physical as hell in the playoffs on this roster. Scotty was pretty physical,
Mhm.
albeit with an injured ankle. Like I've talked about this before, but his first uh, playoff basket being like a 18-foot back down into a drop step dunk over Tyrese Maxey, where he dared Embiid to rotate over. It's like, yep, he's ready for playoff basketball.
Mhm.
Scotty will be so fine in this environment. So
Yep.
too the brawler of the starting five, RJ Barrett,
Yeah.
he has been comfortable. That extra physicality actually is good for his game. And it might even help him out on defense a little bit. But outside of that, how do you feel about the guys? Quickly struggled before.
Yeah, they're well, especially with physicality, like it's gonna be tough for a lot of those guys if they do make the playoffs next year, because you can they're like a guy like Jacoby, a guy like IQ, they're on the smaller side for their like where the league is going for their position.
Yeah.
So it would be tough for them to create space. I think one guy who's obviously well positioned, we've seen him play well in the playoffs, is obviously Bi. Because of his length, he can overcome physicality and shoot and rise over guys. And the mid range is more important in the playoffs just because there's just limited space. So he's a guy that I would expect would be getting the ball a lot, would rise as the playoff goes. But currently on the roster, like I think you'll be able to get into a lot of these guys and it would be tough for them to overcome some of that physicality currently.
If if we're mad that they're not in the playoffs next year and like content if they are, that first series I expect to be probably a humbling one if they're chalk. Like if this team is the same team,
Yeah.
probably a humbling series where they're like, man, okay, this really showed us where the holes in the roster might be. Now, of course, they could be preemptive. Like they're not restarting the rebuild. We know that much, but they could be preemptive in trying to target players they think would be better. They could be
Mhm.
preemptive in trying to like pad out the full rotation and be like a team with better depth. That could happen, but if it's chalk, I think physicality will be like a pretty humbling punch to the face for this team. But that is the case for a lot of teams when they get to the playoffs. We saw it happen with two of the greatest Raptors of all time, DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. In
Yeah.
fact, we saw it happen to both of them in like series where there were veterans. They
Mhm.
weren't, and it took DeMar a long time to figure out his comfortability with like that, I guess, like more physical style. And it took Kyle less time, but still some time. And, some players really are comfortable with it. Some players aren't. And sometimes skinny guys can be really comfortable there. You just got to see it. Like
Yeah.
Jacoby would be on the smaller side if you were a point guard, but he's a two,
Yeah.
and that makes you project and say like, but then again, he stuck in much better at a bunch of things. Maybe in the
He did.
playoffs he would maybe barking at dudes, who knows? Maybe it would be tough.
Yeah, with Jacoby, like he's scrappy. So like at least there's a like a willingness there to engage in physicality and be there. And a lot of that is a lot of like grabbing rebounds, like Peyton Pritchard goes in and grabs rebounds. A lot of that is just like having the willingness to do some of that stuff. And he comparatively from where he was in Baylor to what he's done as a Raptor is like night and day in terms of willingness and competitiveness and scrappiness. So it could bode well in the playoffs and it could just expand and grow as he ages.
Yeah. I'm very excited to see it.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we are probably on the Raptors and how the playoffs reflects them. There is one more thing we wanted to get to. We were talking about this just as friends, not as podcasters, but the legend killer moniker of Anthony Edwards. So one, that's something to talk about because we can, I think it's interesting because I think it's probably too vaunted a nickname for him. And we'll get into that. But also, it brought about, we'll get another opportunity for story time from Trey for you to teach me about wrestling. I got to say, so who has Anthony Edwards kicked out of the playoffs by now? Obviously, LeBron James, Luka Doncic,
Doncic.
I guess
Uh,
technically Booker and Kevin Durant.
Durant. Yep.
Who else?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Um, yeah, Jokic, you mentioned.
Yeah, Jokic. Yeah.
Yeah, and looks
So,
like Steph, sadly. But
well, they lost.
yeah, fair enough.
And do you think Steph's 13 points at the start of the game was I mean, maybe it was. I don't know. But yeah, so I think that I am big time. I think that Anthony Edwards behaves the way that people think like the face of the league or like a star should. Like he aesthetically fits as far as like mentality and the way he
Mhm.
talks fits. Like the when he was telling like Barack Obama was like, "Hey, you seem like a good young player." He's like, "No, I'm the truth." That's just like that braggadocio. He's so good, and I think it makes people really want to elevate him early,
Yeah.
real and to give him accolades early. Accolades they would never give to another player in the circumstance. I think the legend killer moniker is it's a bit presumptuous in my mind. Are you on the other side of that?
The I'm on the other side because it correlates with like the founder and creator of this like gimmick and storyline, which is why everything is always wrestling. Um, for anyone who doesn't know, Randy Orton back in 2009 got the moniker Legend Killer because after he left, just to give you context,
Yeah.
he was in a group with Triple H. He left this group and was basically got pushed to be like the next big star of the company. What he did to set a name for himself, he attacked every star of like the late 90s, early 2000s. So like Ric Flair, who was in this group with him, he punts him in the head.
Wait,
As a
how
child
old is how old? This is important. How old is Ric Flair at this point in time?
in 2009, he has to be 62, 63
Oh,
easily because Ric Flair was wrestling in the 1970s as
holy
a 20.
moly!
Yeah. So he punts Ric Flair in the head, which in like in WWE, like head oriented moves are like super taboo. So at the time when it happens, it goes like this guy is fucked. he just he just he just punts a man in the in the head. And then you know who Mick Foley is?
Yeah.
Okay. So the major storyline is him versus Mick Foley. And throughout the rest of the year, he just mercifully beats up Mick Foley throughout the entire year. He says he's attacking legends. He wants old guys out of the league or out of the company. Him and Mick Foley have a match. They put thumbtacks all over the ring, and he slams Mick Foley with hundreds of thumbtacks in his back. They set a table on fire and he RKO's him through.
Dude, wrestling is so great. I mean,
It was unbelievable. And at the time, they're like, man, especially as a child, I'm like, Randy Orton is like on madness. Like he is insane. The storyline ends, it gets all the way to WrestleMania, and then like the last like OG he has to face is the Undertaker. He loses that match, but he like brutalized the Undertaker to the point where like he gets the nickname. No other legend ever messes with him, and like the punt kick that he has becomes like his one of his special moves forever. So like Anthony Edwards, similar because he's not beating up guys like
okay.
older guys in their prime. He's beating up LeBron is a 40-year-old man. He's my favorite player, but like seeing LeBron tear his MCL because he bumped into a player, I'm like, oh,
Oh no.
it's 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 over. He's old. Steph
Wait,
Curry.
wait, when you saw him in the tunnel, were you at attention?
I was like, I thought he was faking. I thought he was legit flopping to get a
Mhm.
call, but he just tore his knee, which is just a sign of old age. Steph Curry, Amin Thompson ran his legs ragged, running around that Houston defense. One game into the series, he hurts his hamstring. I'm
Uh,
like,
Amen Thompson is also a really great example of like
ooh, yes,
you gotta he can only get around his lack of shooting because he provides
yeah,
everything else. So what I was missing obviously is the origin of the nick. So Legend Killer is like you aren't the big bad man who beats everybody. You're like you are stealing people's like their what is it their social security, like you want them retired, like
yeah,
you're it's do you ever watch Happy Gilmore?
yes,
Okay, so you know when he like drops his grandma off at the place and Ben Stiller's character is like, "You're in my world now, you old lady. I'm gonna make your life hell." Like
Yes.
that's Randy Orton a little bit.
Pretty much, it's like these old guys are here. You're washed up. I'm gonna take your spot. You need to leave. It's the exact same thing. I don't think like I'm gonna tell my children that like Anthony Edwards like usurp LeBron James
Mm.
at any time, or even Kevin Durant. But like it's a sign that like LeBron's time is probably done, and like I'm okay with it, honestly.
So okay, he's like, okay, I'm starting to get it. Like he
Mhm.
would RKO Randy Orton, like the veteran greeting people at Walmart, like retire, get
Yes.
out of here. Okay, so he is like he's the Grim Reaper. He
Yes.
signals the end of Prime, the or
Yes.
like the end of Prime or the end of like contention. Is he like he brings death to contention windows? Is that what he does?
Exactly. I think the Phoenix series last year is like such a key
Mhm.
example where you're Kevin Durant is playing well, but like impact wise, it's just not there because he's hitting tons of shots. They threw cat on him, but he isn't able to bring it on the other end. He isn't able to initiate and use that energy to hopefully create offense around him. But like Anthony Edwards is, even if it's like not the most polished, he's yapping in his face. He's talking shit. He's scoring
He's
points.
so good. He's so good.
Yeah.
I've never been able to do that. It's actually a skill I really respect. It's just that like talking shit in such a lighthearted fashion. I don't talk shit when I play basketball because
Yeah.
I'd be like, I think I'd get upset. You know what I mean? I'd be like, don't say that about me. You know, stop that. But Anthony Edwards, I think, is just like, he's so locked in. I
Yeah.
guess I've never been and will never be as good at anything as Anthony Edwards is at basketball. If you're that good, you look at the president like he's an idiot. Like, I'm the truth. Ask them about me. You know, like
He's one of
that's
the
why he's Goose's favorite player. We won't get any of the background, but he probably when he said that to fuck up.
like it's just like audacity. I think that's what people love.
Hmm.
Like Kobe Bryant, the audacity to shoot the shots that he takes. Like Anthony Edwards, the audacity to say he it doesn't matter what type of ball he plays, he's gonna be the
Hmm.
best at it. Like
Dude,
people love that bravado. And when you're good and it matches and it correlates, like that's
but
like how like stardom happens.
that's two sides of the same coin too. Like Kobe was like always talking, and he wanted to disrupt the other guy's psyche, and he was
Yeah.
like this, and he had the furrowed brow when he said it. He was like talking, but like Ant is like, "Hey, man," and like this big smile. He's like, "We're having fun with it. Like this is great." And yeah, there's some guys who I love that. I think what was that? Cam Spencer when Cam Spencer was
Yeah.
barking at Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant was. He says I won't repeat obviously what he said, but he says like get the fuck out of here. You know,
Yeah.
he's like he's like go on, get like and Cam Spencer
Yeah.
like yeah, yeah. It's just like did you see TJ McConnell with Bobby Portis? Two
Yes.
big trash talkers that ha 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 ha. He just was following him around laughing. And it's dude, there are so many good personalities in the NBA.
Mhm.
I don't know how this league survives once LeBron is gone because he is just like so everything. But they're in a strong position to try
Yeah.
and pivot. I don't like the NBA had trouble post Jordan.
Yeah.
They might have a little bit post Braun, but they're in a strong position, man. There's a lot of cool players.
I think they're in a really good position. Like I f- I think in terms of like overall talent, we've never had like better players, especially at the top. Like maybe 2016 NBA, you have LeBron James at his pinnacle. You have Steph Curry at probably had one of the best seasons ever, and like Kevin Durant. But like in terms of overall depth from like 1 to 10 in the NBA, I think it's stronger than 2016.
Oh,
You-
certainly it is.
Yeah, because you have like Anthony Edwards. Like there's an argument you can make. He's anywhere from like player 8 to like even 12, maybe because there's so many really good guys like Donovan Mitchell, same thing. Guys that would be like the fourth or fifth best NBA player 10 years ago, easily.
It's and also it's the depth is so unique and
Mhm.
deep is that like 15 to 25 almost isn't even worth discussing because
Yes.
it changes so much from year to year based on like context. And it used to be that those places just didn't budge year to year very often. It was like the
Mhm.
top guys are the top guys, especially like a top 15, but like 10 through 15 swings every year now. It's just like who's in a good position, who's not. It's the depth of the league really has been something. But also like the face of the league thing, I know people think it will be Wemby, and I love that Wemby reads Fanon, but I don't know if that's going to make it happen, dude. Like I am not the average viewer of it of the NBA. I
Yeah.
love Victor Wembanyama, but I don't know if he's gonna cut it, dude.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's tough 'cause like personality matters so for some reason the NBA personality matters a lot in terms of like
mhm.
who fans gravitate towards because like Jokic has arguably been the best player for I want to say at least 3 years, probably longer, honestly.
When did he start winning MVPs? 5 years ago? 5 years ago,
Ye-
basically, right?
Yeah, yeah.
First MVP.
So you can make an argument he's been the best player for 5 straight seasons, and I wouldn't say it's his league or he's the most popular player, just because like the personality isn't there in the
And
same aspect.
it's not even like, and it's there. Like Jokic has a
Yeah,
fun
he's a fun
and
guy.
there's lots of fun quirks about his game. He's also very fun to watch, but it's just like it's not at that level. And I don't like when I look back on it, I wonder like does that level require some manufacturing of consent? Like did the media not pull enough in one direction for one player who like LeBron the way he had all the hype and then actually overshot expectations. He overshot
He
expectations
did.
despite
Yep.
being the number one prospect of all time. He overshot expectations. It's like that firestorm, like perfect storm, I should say, to create his stardom is quite unique. And Steph Curry's is like, yes, Steph Curry has his own thing, but it's very much aligned to LeBron.
Mhm.
Like, because LeBron is the defining player of the era that, it's just like the players who beat Kobe. It's like the Celtics are aligned next to Kobe
Yep.
for winning. It's just like that's the defining player of an era. I wonder who it'll be. Or I wonder if, honestly, like soccer, Ronaldo and Messi, there isn't. They don't have that next guy. It's just a bunch of really, really fantastic players, and it's nobody has
Mm.
emerged yet. Mbappe
Yeah.
is not that level. It's just like maybe that's what the NBA is after. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if Ant ever got close to being like an MVP level player, the league is his. Like in the
Yeah.
palm of his hands. He
100%.
he's so compelled. Like he's even with all of the other stuff that he gets into, man, and he gets into stuff. Just like it would be so easy for him to be the guy.
Yeah, easily because he's similar to like Kyrie during like maybe like 2012 to maybe like 2015, where like you can tell like the kids and like just like social media
Mhm.
really gravitated to him. If he was a top 5 player in the NBA, if he ever got to that point, even NBA candidate, the league could have been his, or he could have been one of the next guys in line just because of that popularity.
Like we'll invent like the way that they're like, well, Kyrie was like the most skilled, right? Like they
Yeah.
just invent like, well, let's have like a category that he can win. It's like what will be invented for Ant? Like
Mhm.
there will be one. It's like nobody had his X or Y, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh
Man,
podcast? I
that's a
learned about
that's a
wrestling. We talked about the changing NBA
mhm.
and listeners. We will be getting into lots of potential draftees after we know where the Raptors are drafting, which is soon. Which
Mhm.
is soon. Exciting.
No, we could be $600 shorter as a podcast as of next week.
I think that clip will be so funny if it happens. Everyone else like, yeah, we're like, no. The this we did like what is it the better thing, right? Like where
Yeah.
not better as in like betting,
Yeah.
uh where someone bets against their rooting interest, so no matter what they are happy, but you're
Mhm.
also no matter what you're a little sad is like we're we're like Cooper Fleck, And then we're like, oh man,
Oh,
we gotta give away $600. All because what? I was just like, I'll give money away. Nobody prompted this. There's no gun to my head. And then you were like, I'll match it.
why not?
Yeah.
If they win the lottery, it honestly be one of the happiest days as a Raptors fan ever. I
Yes.
I I think I would explode on the stream and die happy,
Yeah.
honestly.
And honestly, it would give us an opportunity to make this $600 into like a really big thing. And you know
Yeah,
what? If Cooper Flag comes in, Mountain Dew needs to sponsor the podcast, man. What the
please.
hell? This is the number one Cooper Flag podcast in the world. You're not going to sponsor it, Mountain Dew? In fact, sponsor it early. We'll talk about we'll have 4 minutes for Cooper Flag every episode, no matter what team he goes to. If Mountain Dew sponsors this podcast, anything you want to say before we get out of here?
I'm I'm glad I get to keep teaching you about the WWE. Like if there's any other stories that anyone in the comments want me to recite and teach Samson, please let me know and I could just keep running it down.
I love learning, dude. Like I never, I've been asked from many different people about like the wrestling thing. It's like you didn't see it growing up at all. Like not really. Like my
Yeah.
dad, he said he watched wrestling as a kid, but it wasn't on in the house ever. Like not even in
Mhm.
the background. So I just like anytime it was on, it was like this alien thing to me because I was like, this is fake. Because I didn't have any of the lore, and just as a kid, I was like, why are they doing this? Like, because I watch sports where it's real,
Real.
and yeah, exactly where it's real. But now, like, I watched that Kevin Owens match, I was like, holy smokes,
Yeah.
dude! And he
Yeah.
actually like had a
Yeah, bro.
severe injury because he put his life on the line for that. And you're telling me this guy's getting pile drived into thumbtacks and fire? It's like, and also there's terrorists there's there's just
Yeah.
everything, dude. It's like
No,
the perfect American export. It's just
no,
like
it's
excess of all kinds.
but it's crazy. Like in Canada, wrestling is the most popular on the West. Like Calgary's like the forefather of wrestling in Canada. So I thought it would align. But
I get well, Calgary is different than Saskatchewan. Like Calgary,
fair
and
enough.
I know you when you bring that up, you're thinking that Calgary is kind of like a little bit of good old boy, but I'm here to tell you Calgary is more like is more cosmopolitan than where I'm from. You know what I mean? Like we're like rural Saskatchewan is far more yeehaw than that. It just
I guess I'll find out. I'm supposed to go to Calgary. I think July for whatever the Stampede is. I'm supposed to go,
oh
and I'm just
yeah.
assuming it's because my wife's family is from Calgary, so I'm just assuming that it's all
Oh
ranch.
dude.
But
I you'll enjoy it. Is you actually you have a great disposition. You enjoy a lot of things that
yeah.
you experience. So yeah. Uh just please take a
Wow.
picture.
Oh my God.
Did the Knicks come back?
Brunson, yeah, Brunson gamed them.
What?
Oh
Wait,
no, that was McHale. Oh my God, they lost. The Knicks are
the
up 2-0.
the Celtics lost?
Wow. Jesus.
Whoa! Are
Oh,
you for real, dude?
who scored that? I just yeah, just flashed in my notifications. Knicks win
Oh my
91-90.
god.
Wow.
Oh, dude. Tatum is such a loser, man. Let's
Jesus.
go.
Oh God. First the
Whoa.
Cavs, now this, man.
Oh, dude. That's
Oh,
incredible.
Jesus.
Wow.
Wow. Okay.
Whoa.
Who hit the last shot?
That's shocking. Oh
Yeah.
my days. Who hit the last shot? Oh, who
Um,
so
oh, Brunson free throws.
oh, well,
Yeah.
isn't that the way? Yeah,
Yeah.
he hit both at least.
Yeah.
Tatum got a dunk to take the lead. Brunson draws a foul, and then Bridges blocks Tatum on a fadeaway jumper. Wow.
Wow. Insane.
Dude, that's crazy. Because you guys told me Jalen Brown was incredible, but it turns out he but he scored 20 points on 23 shots and had 1 assist and had 6 turnovers. Oh, oh. Oh, man. Okay.
Oh.
Is Is there another game tonight? Do we want to make
Yeah,
it? Who wins, Nuggets or Thunder? For people who listen, and
I
maybe we'll
think
be
I
right or
think
wrong.
OKC's blowing them out the water. I think they win by 15.
I think they'll win as well. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything you want to say again before we get out of here?
It's never mattered less
Yes.
having the best play in the series. Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
Oh,
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in with us. We appreciate it very much. Like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate that. And whether you got into this in the morning or at night, have a blessed day and goodbye.